Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
No, it's terrible to interrupt the flow of your favorite podcast, Capital Hacking, with this pesky commercial, but let me do it anyway. Forgive me. That is right. We have to talk about the best event coming up in April. It's April 19th and 20th. It's Learn and Grow. It's that accountable equity investor community event open not only to our current investors, but to anyone who wants to see the power of an accredited investor community. It's going to be hosted at one of the beautiful accountable equity resorts called LBI National. It's near Renault Winery, actually. It's in New Jersey. We'd love for you to register and find out what everyone is talking about and why this type of investing, this type of mastermind community might be right for you. Check it out at accountableequity.com. Choose, learn, and grow. Thank you.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the big show, Capital Hacking. My name is Josh McCallan, and today, John and I are teaming up again.
Yeah, we are in the house together, which is so exciting. And today we interviewed Tim Winter. The very beginning of the show is pretty hilarious, so be ready for that one. But Tim takes us through the process of him growing up, learning to work very, very hard, and then how he got into the construction business.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think we have a gentleman here, similar to other shows we've done, like with Mark Schwager, where he also figured out how to have a core business and to benefit from all the ancillary benefits of his core business. So this gentleman just has run Paradigm Home for years, and very successful business where they build custom homes. And from that, he was able to spin off something called Lux Architecture, which I think is great, the way his mind thinks. Love that part of the audio mastermind where you kind of see into how he made those decisions. And then ultimately, we spent a good bit of time talking about what is his way of contributing back to others in need. And I thought the way he explained what he and his wife decided to do was compelling. And it's something I hope all of us are moving toward growing in our lives.
Let's go.
Ooh, Tim. Feels like it's winter in here. Mr. Tim Winter's on the big show, John.
Josh, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I did. Whatever that was.
Oh, man.
We're your acting skills, John.
It's Josh, are you saying my acting skills are in the basement?
Dude, your acting skills. Not Tim. I know you want to hear this, but Tim, you don't know this, but John does commercials, video on film.
Oh. You know what? I had forgotten about that commercial. It was 8 years ago until last night when Fred started posting his YouTube commercials on our WhatsApp. And then I remembered that I actually have a commercial that appeared on TV many, many times, by the way.
Did it really?
Yeah, in the local Philadelphia area. I would get calls from people all the time when it came out. Like, I just saw you on TV, I think.
Well, here's the thing, Tim. I know you love this story because you're dying to hear more. But here's the deal. John is like a fierce, he could be a UFC fighter. He's like, right. And there was this 98-pound man beating him up in a ring. That was what the commercial was.
98-pound old man. He like,
and he
like
kept
late
beating
60s.
John up. I'm like, this is implausible. Implausible.
That commercial was crazy. I don't even know how we got on this topic.
What was it for? What product were you pushing?
So a very close, we got to get him on our podcast. Oh my gosh. A very good friend of mine. He owns the oldest family-owned pawn shop in the country. It's called Lou's Jewelry and Pawn. It's at 69th and Market Street. Here's an ad for you, Stanton. And Stanton is this small, little Jewish guy, fire plug, like older guy with a high-pitched voice. And we put a cape around his neck, okay? And we had him take his shirt off. And basically the commercial was, he beat me into submission. And I was wearing one of my Breitling watches. And he goes, oh, that's a really nice watch. And I lift my head at the end after he beats me into submission. I say, can I just get a loan? And that's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, Tim, thank you
Well,
for letting us make sure everybody knows how talented John is as an
absolutely.
actor. But go
All
ahead.
right. All right. So we want to know about you, Tim. Give us a background on who you are. By the way, we love Tim Winter. He's in GoBundance. He's in my GoPod, my champion GoPod, and really wanted to learn more about you. So let's learn about Tim Winter.
Yeah, so we'll start at the beginning. So I'm originally from the Pittsburgh area, so the other side of the state from you guys. And we grew up about 35 miles north of the city. So in an area called, most people would know Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. There's a lot of NFL athletes and coaches that have come out of Aliquippa, and they're still producing talented athletes in the local community there. So grew up there, was old, kind of steel town. And kind of, humble beginnings. My parents, my dad worked at the nuclear power plant, so he was like Homer Simpson.
Wow, dude.
Seriously, like they not resemblance in the way they look, but definitely the way that they acted. My dad and Homer could be very similar. Sleep, when Homer's sleeping, pushing the buttons and all that stuff that he's doing. Yeah, that was probably my dad.
Dude, wait a second.
Sorry, Dad, if you listen to this.
Tim, you're probably our age, right? Like late 40s or so, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And he was working there like when you were a little guy, or when did he? Here's why. I've got a question to ask you.
Yeah, sure.
Like, so early 80s, was he working there?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, early 80s. Yeah, because he retired from there. So he was there for 30 some years.
Okay, so first of all, I love that Pittsburgh market. I think it's actually phenomenal. If you've never been to Pittsburgh, guys, you'll not believe how great of a town that is. And the Three Rivers coming all together. That whole area is pretty cool. But, dude, do you not have you lived in a nuclear power plant lifestyle because your dad worked there. I have this visual memory every time I think of nuclear power of Sally Field in the early 80s after 3 Mile Island or something like that. And she was contaminated. And they, do you ever see that movie? That must have been a horror movie for you when you were
young. I was probably too young. I don't remember. What was the name of it?
I don't even know what it's called. It was like so dramatic. Like they made nuclear power seem like we were all going to die because there was that problem once, right? So anyway, God bless it. Thank God he's powering all the electric cars now. We appreciate it.
Right. So that's what
Go
my
ahead,
dad
Tim.
did. So that's what my dad did for his day job. But then he also would do real estate as a side hustle. So he would buy houses, rent them out. And so I've been around real estate, since I was a kid. So my dad would have the mindset that, if you're going to live in my house, you need to work. So he put us to work at an early age. And, at the time, wasn't thankful for that opportunity. But now, looking back and reflecting, definitely appreciative of his way of, coaching and leading, even though there was a lot of contentions at times and, some great, a few knock me out, drag down, fights. But, that's what happens when you're a smart mouth kid to think you know it all. I mean, that's, and dad's going to put in place.
what was the breakdown? Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah. So I've got a sister that's in the middle. And then my brother, who's 5 years younger than me. Okay. So, yeah. So we, him and I used to, I was the older brother, but my dad always would say to me, hey, one day your brother's going to be bigger than you. And that day happened. I think I was, 18, 19. He was 13, 14. And he shoved me. I was like, oh, I know what my dad's talking about. So and if you see my brother to this day, he's definitely bigger than me. He's jacked. I mean, he's a fit dude. A great younger brother. He's probably my best friend. So we get along well. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but so this is thanks for taking all those curveballs with me. But so I loved your honesty right there, that even though Dad said if you live in the house, you got to work, you said that it didn't go great at first. But somehow it left a positive impression, even though at first you might have said, no, I'm not fixing. Was he actually having you do carpentry or any kind of physical work on the buildings?
Yeah, I mean, not so much carpentry because I was a kid, but he'd give me like ripping out carpet, scraping paint, we started doing some painting. As I got older, I started doing some more, skilled jobs. And, so he'd always have us doing stuff around the house too. We were on 4.5 acres growing up. So we were always mulching the yard, cutting the grass. He had an orchard. So we were pruning trees, digging trees, so we were always at work to some degree. And my dad said, "Hey, I want you to experience this now and feel what it's like to work with your back. And I want you to learn to work with your mind." And so I have a great appreciation for obviously being in the construction industry, what everybody does on a day-to-day basis, because even though I don't do that now, I really respect, that hard work and that grit and that grind that comes from, that level of determination.
I agree. Me too. I feel the same way every time I'm working with any contractor. I just, there's that tension. You always have to push them to have a goal to get through each day, but you definitely respect how challenging the work can be.
Yeah. So what we didn't say yet, but Tim owns Paradigm Homes. He builds new construction, correct?
Yeah, custom homes, and we also do additions and renovations as well.
Yep. And then you have an architectural company called Lux Architecture, right? And so what got you, let's start with the home building. When did you start getting into home building?
So it probably started, the true construction was after college, but it started right before college, because when I was 18, my dad and I bought a house. I bought it, but my dad co-signed for me. It was $20,000, and we needed to renovate it. So I went off to school. I went to Penn State, and my dad was my first hire. He was my first project manager, because I was at school. He was there, but we were doing this together. And so we renovated this property. So that was kind of my first intro into kind of real estate construction, from something that I put my hands on. But then I went to school, went to Penn State, and came out and went to work for NV Homes. So I worked for NV Homes in Northern Virginia for about 7 years before I launched Paradigm.
And did you go to school for architecture? Is that how you build an architectural firm?
No, the architectural business just started 2 years ago, and I'll explain that. But no, I went to school to get out of school. I'm not a school guy. You had to go to school
to get out of school.
you had to get a degree to get a job. So that's what I did. So short story, but I met my wife now of almost 23 years, our end of our freshman year. And she was actually a year older. She was a sophomore, but she was transferring we were at a branch campus. So she was at the branch campus of Penn State where we met. And I needed to get to the main campus, because here's my girlfriend. I want to spend time with her, So I declared I was a pre-law major. I wanted to be an attorney. And then I realized I really don't like school. And that's a lot more school than I want to, kind of stomach. So I was like, what can I do? I'm like, well, they don't have any German at Penn State Beaver. And I had 4 years of high school German. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to become a German major so I can get the hell out of here and go see my wife or my girl.
That's smart.
And so then when I got to Penn State, I realized that I was flunking out of German and it wasn't going to be the best thing for me. I didn't want to lose credit, so I stayed in the liberal arts college. So my major was labor and industrial relations, and it's kind of like an HR, a lot of union type stuff, a mix of that. And then I had a minor in business. So my real on the job training came when I left Penn State and, started working for NV Homes and really learned a lot of systems, processes. I mean, they're a great organization. I still have family that works there today. And just a great, amazing, I couldn't do what I do today without spending 7 years there.
Tim, you're such an interesting guy, and I'm so blessed to, not just call you my friend, but I spent a week, Josh doesn't even know this, in Stowe, Vermont. Tim and I were roommates for a week.
Good for you.
In Vermont. And I think I took Tim to more parties than he expected, more bars than he expected. But, you really get to know each other. And there was actually one night that we talked until like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, just about life, about, being a husband and a business owner. One of the interesting things that we discussed, though, is Tim and his wife, they do have a home building business, but they have a charitable arm to that. So, Tim, can you speak to what the amazing things that you're doing to impact the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So the picture behind me, if you guys can see it,
We can.
is the Dominican Republic. And I keep it above kind of my desk as a reminder as to kind of our purpose of why we do what we do. So when we started Paradigm 17 years ago, I always had in the business plan some type of give back opportunity. It's always been written in there. Didn't know what it was going to be, but my wife and I both are big into giving and helping others, and my wife more so than me. She's trained me over the last 23 years to be more aware and more cognizant and empathetic and all those things that come with that. So she went to the Dominican Republic almost 11 years ago on a mission trip with our church to do anti-human trafficking. And on that trip, they were out in the community visiting some families and stuff one day. And she saw these houses and how they were kind of built and what was going on. And all of a sudden she was flooded with emotion. And she's like, I heard God audibly say, this is why you're here. You're going to build houses. And she's like, I don't know how to build houses. He's like, but your husband does. So she came back with this, goal and idea like, hey, we're going to go build houses in the Dominican Republic. God said we're going to do it. So we got to go. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So,
Wow.
fast forward 10 years now, we've built over 60 homes in the Dominican Republic. We're also in Kenya. We did a community center in Central African Republic. We've done some projects in Brazil, and our newest partnership is going to be in the Amazon part of Brazil. So Jen and I will be going to the Amazon sometime in July, and then actually next week we're headed to Kenya for a week. And the cool thing about that trip is I'm taking my mom and my sister-in-law. So it's a little family trip. So we'll spend 4 or 5 days in the community doing some work. There's a school that we work with there as well. And then the fun part, we get to go do a safari. So if anybody wants to do a mission trip and safari, I got the perfect trip for you.
Yeah, and I spent some time in East Africa years ago in Kenya and Ethiopia for 3 weeks, and those are beautiful countries. We were on a mission doing some missionary work there, but also going to safari is amazing. Remind me, I want to connect you with John Kuroka, Pastor John, who's a Maasai warrior.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Definitely need to meet him.
So the first question people have is first, there's great gratitude from all of us for what you're doing.
Mhm.
And the question is, what are the logistics? I just have to ask, are the contractors the same people who live in the community and you send over people that teach them how to build? I assume there's financial things you need to fund infrastructure to build, but how do you actually build in another country? Like, do you go over and form it? I mean, that just sounds so impossible in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. It's the whole who, not how concept, right? So we have partners. We partner with a local church because we want them to be the hub of the community. They know the community. They know so we serve what we call the ultra poor. It's those that live on less than $2 a day. So that's kind of, when we were going through this, that's what we decided we want to go, after those that are really the less fortunate, widows, orphans, and those in dire need. And so we partner with the church, and they form a committee that selects the candidates. We have a PPI, poverty something index. It's the UN created it. My wife adjusted it to some degree, and so there's a form that gets filled out that gets sent to our board. So we review it and get approved, and we're basically the funding arm of what we're doing, like through it's a 501c3. So we raise money, we give money back through our business as well. But so when we're in country, we work with either a local contractor in the community, and so that we're buying all local materials, we're buying all and sourcing labor, everything's coming in and around the community, because it's not just about that one house for that one family or two families or whatever. It's really about how do we impact the community.
Beautiful.
And they can see what we do, and we take teams down, but we build all year, even when we're not there. So there's a house being built. They just finished 2 houses in Kenya that we'll get to see next week. The DR is about to kick off a new house here shortly. So, I mean, it's building. We've got some great partners. The pastor that we work with in Kenya, his last name is Jenga. So Steve Jenga, and Jenga in Swahili means builder. So we got the pastor builder in Kenya, right? So we're all set.
That's awesome. Now, a couple questions that come to mind. What is the size of these properties that you're building, and what is the cost of each one?
Yeah, sure. So each country is a little bit different because we want to adhere to what is cultural, right? So in the Dominican Republic, the average house is anywhere from 400 to 600 square feet, 2-bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, and the living area, then a little front porch, right? A socialization in the DR is a big piece. That's why we did, when we started this, we went in and basically did. We talked to families and different people as to kind of learn the culture to make sure that we didn't come in and force the American way, but listen to what their true needs are and kind of how do we serve them. In Kenya, so the DR real quick, in the DR, we're building the houses out of cinder block, and then we've got stick framed roof and then a corrugated metal, and then everything gets painted. And so it's strong for hurricanes. We also have a storm shelter. The bathroom acts as a storm shelter. It's all encased in concrete. So if there is any storm issues, the families can all hunker down in there together. Now in Kenya, the houses are a little bit bigger. They're anywhere from 500 to 800 or maybe 1,000 square feet. And they're all done out of either a local stone or a local brick material. We've actually, at one of the projects, and maybe even some, they would form their own bricks like out of mud, and put some concrete in it. And that was the first project. But so, really cool structures. And like in Kenya, they don't have bathrooms inside the house. Everything's out. That's the culture. So for us, if we would come in and stick a bathroom in the house, they're not going to use it. So it's just understanding what's important. From a cost perspective, each country is obviously a little bit different, but we say it's about anywhere from $14,000 to $16,000 builds a house. When we first started in the DR, it was about $8,500. Thanks COVID and inflation. So yeah.
No, great intel. I mean, this is curious for us who have a heart for the same type of things you do and would love to learn more. With the boy, I was really taken by the hurricane storm shelter in the bathroom. What a great innovation. But it begged one last question. I imagine everything is on some kind of septic system, right? So you have to retain your waste. Yeah. I imagine, is that rudimentary? Because those costs you're talking about would sound like even cheaper than just the materials to build a septic system.
Yeah. So basically the septic system is a 30-foot hole.
Yeah. Right.
So
it's very
basically,
basic. Yeah.
You're just digging a basic hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let
nature take its course.
Yeah.
So another question, you started this architectural company a couple years ago, and I'm sure people who are listening would love to be clients of yours. Where do you what states are you in?
Yeah. So right now, Home Lux has the reach. We're in South Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, DC, Texas, Tennessee, Florida. So we've got a pretty good coverage, and we're adding some more. I'm adding Jersey and Philadelphia. That should be hopefully ready here in the next 30 to 45 days. And it's basically what it is. So I've got a main chief architect on our team. And so we just get her licensed in these states. We just got licensed in Massachusetts. We're doing a project for a GoBo up there, doing a couple multifamily projects for him. So yeah, it's been fun.
With that though, what was the strategic play there? You know what I mean? What was the reason you chose to go into that specialty?
Yeah. So, when I looked at some of the verticals of where we were sending money out, and I looked at the amount of money that we were paying out to architecture, I was like, we could probably retain our own team and save money and make
Yes.
money, and everybody wins. But then we also get to control the process. We get to control the design. We get to control the speed. We can, manage. We can move projects around. The problem when we were outsourcing is we were always on somebody else's timeline or on their schedule. And internally, now that we can control it, sometimes we'll move projects around. We've got maybe a client that's slower at making decisions, even though they came in before. We put them over here, and then we bring the other client that's moving in. Hey, this is rolling. Let's move them around. So a little bit, so two things. It's it's that control, and then it also became a profit center for us.
Yeah. And back to Paradigm Home for one more minute there. Is the model direct to consumer, or are you building these for investors, or is there any kind of blend? What is your typical client?
Yeah, so it's kind of a blend. Majority of our clients are, I would say, 85% of the work we do, 90% of the work we do, we're all direct to consumer. We do some spec projects on our own, so I'll bring some investors in, or I have a couple other investors that we do some construction for. So the challenge with some of the investor stuff is because we're doing a mid to higher end custom. Depending on the project, we may not be the cheapest solution for that investor that's just trying to get in and get out. So fix and flips, that kind of stuff. We're not the right. But if you're doing a condo building, we just finished an 18-unit condo building for an investor group. I'm actually going to look at 2 more on Thursday in DC. So we'll do those kind of things because we can make those numbers work for the investor. And sometimes we go into the deal too. So we'll that way we're giving up our fees and things like that to kind of come in for some equity.
Love it. Love it. And Tim, where can our listeners connect with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So email address, twinter@paradigmhomes.com. And then my Instagram is @winterbuilds or @theparadigmhomes. You can find us there. And HomeLux is a new, we just are slowly launching the website. So that's homeluxarchitecture.com. And so check it out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show, buddy.
A lot of fun. Thank you, sir. Thank you for all you're doing.
Absolutely.
Damn straight. We just got we got to the end of another great show, and everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.